There's worlds within worlds. There's degrees within degrees. There's light within darkness, and there's darkness within light. There's a balance. But what all those things have in common is the invisible nature of them all. What holds the light? What holds the darkness? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. What holds our emotions? What holds our minds? What holds our souls? It's an invisible nature. That invisible nature is true reality. That true reality is what makes all reality. The space that we're in is a reflection of that invisible nature that holds the soul, that holds the spirit. Your mind is a representation of the invisible force that holds something. So if your mind is the invisible force that holds something, what's holding the mind? What invisible force is holding the mind? And this is the template. This is the Tao. This is the Holy Spirit. This is the eternal. It's not formed. It's not light. It's not darkness. It's nothing. It's incomprehensible. You cannot think of it. In order to think of it, you would have to not exist. In order to not exist, you would have to exist in the first place. You can never, ever know the invisible force, the true, ineffable, invisible force until it reveals itself to you. And once it reveals itself to you, it's not even going to be invisible. It's going to be in a way, in a perspective, in a form that you can understand. And it's going to start as thoughts in your mind. It's going to start as feelings, as to gradually grow you into the degrees. Now, growing in the degrees, you gotta be honest with yourself. Are you in a higher degree than me? Am I in a higher degree than you? If so, in what area? What area am I a lower degree? Be honest with yourself. Who is saying what? And why are they saying it? Degrees within degrees. What are we really searching for? Are we searching to escape? Or are we searching to become? Because ultimately we already are. But since we already are, then we're becoming. Because in order to already be what you are, you have to become that thing. That's the problem with words. There's a dual nature to them. Because if you say one thing, that makes the opposite true. It works like that because of how our reality is. It's how we're conditioned in our reality to see things for whatever reason. Now, when you're listening to people online talk about different things, ask yourself, what level are they speaking on? Because it's easy to say if they're speaking on a spiritual level. But define that spiritual level. Define it. Define it for yourself. Find out all the words you can to describe it. And describe the different dimensions. Describe the different degrees, the different frequencies, the different feelings. Describe them all. And place them in a hierarchical orders so you can intellectually understand it. And then listen to these people that are talking. Where are they talking from? Are they talking from a place of happiness, a place of negativity, a place of mental clarity, a place of mental confusion, a solar place, a mental place, an astral place, unknown place, egoic place, a natural ego place, or super ego place, a lower ego place. Whatever how you describe what you're describing, even if you describe it in colors, and what color are they speaking in? What chakra are they speaking from? All of these things, you have to pinpoint what's happening. Because while you're pinpointing, you're organizing your mind to view something. You're saying, okay, this is spirituality, but the spirituality is everything is one. But I need to break it down so I know where I am in this one. Because you are in awareness. And yeah, you may be trying to get rid of your awareness, but you'll never get rid of your awareness because you have awareness. Like, you can't forget your awareness. And if you did forget your awareness, you will be aware of it. Because you have awareness. It's a strange concept. But once you already are, you can't not be. So you may think, oh well, once I become my higher self and I'm on to my higher self, then I'm just my higher self. And I think a lot of people's understanding of that is, I don't have to do anything and my higher self just does everything. Well, yes, but you are your higher self. And you are your lower self. You're just centered right now in your lower self. And when you center yourself in your higher self, you'll have the same awareness. But your personality traits will probably be different. The reason why we have to figure out where we are is to clean our minds and categorize our minds in these separate spaces. Once we separate spirituality and we make it mental, we can take the universe and we can see it within our mind. Once we can see within our mind, then we can start to go into it. But we can't go into spirituality as a whole because we don't know where we're going. Because we're just going into one. We're just jumping into. It's like a rift opened up into the floor, and it's darkness. You're probably not jumping in it, are you? Because you don't know what's in there. But if you stood at the edge and you looked into it, maybe you start to see things. Maybe something will come out of it. Maybe you'll get the idea of meditating upon it to see what's inside of it. So many different possibilities. When it happens, you'd have to see what happens. But the idea of just blindly doing something without intellectualizing it first is kind of irresponsible on your mental side. And it is stated in a few spiritual scriptures that you have to leave your mind behind. Which, in an aspect, yeah, that's true. But they're not talking about the mind in the sense of the totality of thought. They're talking about the mind in the sense of the lower nature and desires. So, yeah, you gotta leave the mind behind in the sense of the lower part of it. Like the part that we're centered in now in our lower nature. But once you reach the higher natures, our mind is the gateway to all of these things. But how can we know which door to go through the gateway if we haven't started to organize it here? If we can't organize, okay, they're talking from an astral perspective. Okay, they're talking from a mental perspective. Okay, they're talking from a solar perspective. Okay, they're talking from a spirit perspective. They're talking from a 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D. Okay, so this is how they're communicating. Okay, so he's communicating concepts of the fifth dimension, and he's relaying it to third dimensional principles so that we can understand it within the fourth dimension. Okay, he's taking 5D principles and he's talking about the concepts in 4D. okay, this is where he's going with it. Okay, now he's taking those 4D concepts, he's bringing it down to third dimensional reality and how it plays out here and how we can see how we'll be able to perceive within our fourth dimensional concepts. These kind of things you have to start understanding. What is third dimension? If you have to look up a video of what the third dimension is, you're going in the right direction. Because now you're actually starting to wonder, what is the third dimension? So you're going to have all these videos talking about what the third dimension is. But the most important video of what the third dimension is what you see within your mind when you contemplate the third dimension. Because if you can contemplate the third dimension long enough, you'll come up with the answer of what the third dimension is. And it may not be the complete totality of what the third dimension is, but you'll have a starting point. And from that starting point, you can build on the third dimension of what you think the third dimension is into the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So the more and more you build upon it, the more and more you organize it within your mind, the more and more becomes clear to you what it is. Until the point where you're starting to understand fourth dimensional aspects from what other people are saying. Like, okay, I can see how that's fourth dimension. Oh, okay, see, I can see how that's fifth dimension. But you can also be able to detect that's not fourth dimensional. That's not fifth dimensional. That's not sixth dimensional. But then you have to reflect upon yourself. Is it not fourth dimensional because I don't see it like that? Or is it not fourth dimensional because I have an experience as to why it's not that? And then if I have an experience of why it's not that, why is that person saying that it is that? What is their experience of the fourth dimension that makes them think that? Because you gotta remember, your original third dimensional thought of what you thought it was is going to change. So give that person grace to be like, okay, well, they're coming through the degrees of understanding of what it is, and they're just happening to share it. So listen. It may not apply to you because you're in a higher degree, but you can only be in a higher degree when you can see where that degree is. If you can see where they are and go along with their thought process, then yeah, you can understand what they're saying. But you have your own understanding as well, a higher degree. Now, when you talk to them and tell them your degree and they understand your degree, then you realize that y'all are both on the same degree, but y'all are looking at it from different perspectives. So if that's the case, if you mold his degree and your degree together, you gain a larger degree. And you can be able to see it from not just your degree, but their degree, putting it together for a larger degree. But if you tell them your degree and they don't understand what your degree is, your degree perspective is greater than theirs, so they can't comprehend it yet. They can't follow the thought patterns because they haven't opened those critical thought waves on that frequency within that vibration to see what you're saying. But you saying it to them is going to send them vibrations, and they're going to be like, I don't really know what he's talking about, but through time, the seed was sown. So through time, they'll be able to understand, like, oh, okay. And it may not even be a direct, oh, okay, this person said this, and now I understand. It may not even be like that. It may just be, oh, I get it now. Completely independent of what you said to them. Even though what you said to them probably was what they needed to hear in order for them to get the revelation later. But that's just how things work, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's natural like that. So within the fabric of life and the worlds within worlds, there are different perspectives. And pinpointing these perspectives where they are within your understanding of what things are, you can start seeing a timeline. And that's just with social consciousness within the modern era of the spiritual community online. Now, if you do the same thing with spiritual books, then you can see the consciousness of the world through millions of years. And all those years are going to come rushing at you at once, but those millions and millions and millions of years of reincarnation and knowledge being passed down and condensed and expanded and condensed and expanded will reach you in vibration. And you'll start to see the human mind, the total super conscious of the human mind talking to you, which most people will see it as like the oversoul, like the one soul we all go into, so to speak, for the generational of humans that we're in. You see what I'm saying?